Hello, Madeline Hewitt here. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. If you have been here before, welcome back. As always, I like to talk about everything health, wellness, and personal development on my channel. And I have a big news. I am starting a podcast. It is called Do the Work with Madeline Hewitt. And a lot of it will be some of the same content that's on my YouTube will be transferred over to my podcast. And then I will have some exclusive content between YouTube and some exclusive content between my podcast. So be sure to check that out. Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get listen to your podcast. I will also add some information about it and links in the description below. But I am so excited to launch this. I want to be able to reach people across all platforms, however you choose to consume your content. I want to be available for you. Also, please be sure to check out my socials, Instagram, TikTok. I am going to get a lot more active on those coming recently, a lot more of just kind of my day-to-day life and a little more casual. So yeah, be sure to check me out on my socials. And today I have an exciting episode for you guys. I am going to deep dive into why I decided to quit drinking in 2023. So if you watched my previous videos, my 2023 goals video, you may have noticed me mentioning that I am not going to drink in 2023, and it is definitely one of my biggest goals for the year. A lot of times whenever I tell people, I've actually become pretty public about saying this now, because my 30 days is up, that like dry January 30 days is up. So now people are asking questions. Before it was just really easy. It was like, oh no, it's dry January, I'm not drinking. But now it's February and people are like, why aren't you drinking? Do you want to drink? What's going on? And I'm like, no, I am actually not going to drink anymore. And then they're like, what do you mean anymore? And I'm like, I'm just not drinking for the rest of the year. Let's call it a dry 2023. That's what I've started saying when people are like, oh, how was dry January? I was like, yeah, it was so good. It's now a dry 2023. Or people are like, why aren't you drinking? And I'm just like, dry 2023. I keep it short, simple. I do not go super in depth about it. But, when I say that I'm not drinking for the entire year, people initially are like, wait, what? Not drinking for the whole year? What do you mean? I totally get it. My God, every time I heard someone even doing dry January before I did it, I was like, oh God, that sounds so hard. I don't know if I could do it. Oh, wow, they've got a lot of willpower. That's crazy. I wish that I could do that. Like, I had just never been successful at it before. So I'm sure me saying that I'm not going to drink for an entire year is probably like mind-blowing to some people, especially people that have known me for a lot of years. It's definitely a massive lifestyle change for me. So I get the reactions and I am learning my kind of reactions and just kind of like my script, I guess, if you want to say, just kind of how I like to handle it so that I don't get drug into this like deep, long conversation about why I'm not drinking. All right, so when we talk about why I'm not drinking, I think it's important to help y'all understand my relationship with alcohol and kind of how I got here. So I started drinking the end of my senior year of high school, and I would say I was just dabbling with it at that point. I was not a heavy drinker. I was not a partier by any means. I did not party in high school. I did not drink in high school. Was not my lifestyle at all. I started working in a restaurant my senior year of high school and got introduced to like a totally different crowd, and they were partiers, and started to dabble my toes in it a little bit. And then when I graduated and went to college, drinking was just, I went to Georgia, University of Georgia, and drinking is just such a part of the college culture, and I wouldn't change my college experience at all. I loved all of it, everything about it. I think I did college exactly how college is meant to be done, socially speaking, and I had an absolutely great time. But during college, drinking did become such a big part of my identity. It made me feel like I almost had like a place that I belonged, because it was like everyone was partying so hard and we had like such a great group of people that were always at every event, that were always at the bars, that were just always down to do X, Y, and Z. And I like loved being a part of that. And such a big part of that was the drinking. And so, yeah, it became a really big part of my identity. I had an alter ego name for many years. Her name was Marsha. And, you know, I had a tendency to drink way over my limit. I blacked out a lot. I'm being very candid here. I blacked out a lot in college. I just partied a lot, and alcohol was a huge part of it. You know, there was never a time where I was like, I have a problem or like I need help, but there were definitely times where I was like, this is not healthy. The relationship that I have with alcohol is not healthy. I've had these thoughts for years. The thought of quitting drinking for an extended period of time has been on my mind for a long time. My relationship with alcohol has just never been, I've never done it in small doses. I've never done it in moderation. When I drink heavily. And, you know, people, I used to say this to people. I used to say, well, if I'm going to drink, then I'm going to drink. Like, why put it into my body if I'm not going to get drunk? Like, I've never been a sipper. I've never been a glass of wine girl. I've never been a let me have one beer. That's just never been my style. And unfortunately, pretty much all of my major regrettable life decisions that I've had thus far have all been fueled by alcohol. I mean, there's only a few things that I can think of on my hand where I'm like, I really regret that. And they all involved alcohol, and I make poor decisions when I had drank when I was younger, and I just did not have a lot of control over my emotions. My reactions to things were way bigger than they needed to be. I'm not my best self when I drink, and I've always been aware of that. I'm fun. I'm really, really fun, and I'm a really good time, and I am down to go anywhere and do anything and hang out with anyone. Like, I'm a fun drunk. I'm not a mean drunk. I'm not a mad drunk. I'm not a sad drunk. I'm a fun drunk, but I'm not my best self. Like, this girl that you see in front of you right now, I feel so good. I feel better than I've felt in a really long time. And this is like me becoming the best version of myself. Me drinking is not that. And I've been aware of that. So then came Whole30, which is how I started this channel, was documenting my Whole30 journey. And if you haven't seen those videos, I highly, highly suggest you do, because I do talk a good bit about my relationship with alcohol in those videos. But Whole30 came, and obviously on Whole30, it's all about clean eating and detoxifying your body, and you can't drink alcohol. And I had never done a full 30 days without drinking since I started drinking. I had never done it. I had tried, and I had been unsuccessful before, but I had never done 30 days without alcohol. And the contrast between the way that I felt in December and the way that I felt in January, that was addicting. I felt so good. Obviously, there were a lot of other factors that played into it. I'm doing a lot of self-development work right now. I'm doing a lot of like inner work on myself. I'm eating really, really healthy, and I'm exercising again. But a huge part of it is the not drinking alcohol, because alcohol was such a part of my life. It was such a part of my social life, and it's how I spent a lot of my free time, was drinking. So that 30 days really, really opened my eyes, and just the way that I felt above all else, I was like, I will do whatever I need to do to not lose this feeling. I am addicted to how I feel right now. I genuinely like wake up and I'm like, holy shit. Life can feel like this. It's wild. And that doesn't mean that like things are all going great in my life. That doesn't mean that like things aren't wrong, but like I feel good. So there were really like 5 big reasons that I kind of came to the conclusion to stop drinking this year. And kind of piggybacking off of the Whole30 experience, during that Whole30 experience, I went through a breakup, and it was a pretty substantial breakup for me. This was a person that, you know, I saw really long in-game type vision with, and so it was a pretty big deal for this relationship to come to an end. And I had never dealt with a breakup before without alcohol. I had never dealt with something that like emotional for me without alcohol. And it was wild because when the breakup happened, obviously when it happened, it was like took the breath out of me for a good like 48 hours. I was just like, oh my God, like what just happened? But then the craziest thing happened, right? So I had those like 2 days of just like feeling the feels and like really in my emotions. But like during those 2 days, like I was really able to like piece together A, B, C, and D. And I was really able to like see a little deeper into the situation and do a lot of like introspection and reflection on myself and like how this all got to this point. And that's a really big difference from how I have dealt with breakups in the past. A lot of times when I've gone through breakups, it has been a super, super emotional experience where like I kind of feel like the world is starting to crumble. And last time I went through a breakup last January, like it was a spiral for me. It was like the start of a downward spiral. Like I spiraled into like full-blown depressive episode. It was wild and I just had like zero control over my emotions. So then fast forward to this year, this January, going through a breakup, and I was upset. I was really, really upset. But I was also so logical about it and I was so methodical about it. And I was just able to see through the fog, which I'd never really experienced before. And then after that, those like initial 2 days or whatever happened, I was really able to like pick myself up off the ground, brush my shoulders off and be like, all right, Maddie, like that happened. That was really shit. You dealt with it. Now let's keep it going. Because my headspace was just like, I was so clear. I had not drank, 3 bottles of wine in the last 2 days, 4 bottles of wine in the last 2 days. Like I had not sat there and like boo-hooed with my friends for hours on end about the same thing over and over. I had not like gone out and made regrettable decisions because I'm emotional. Like none of those things that I had like screwed up and done in the past dealing with breakups, I didn't do any of them. I dealt with it in a really, really healthy and mature way. And that was like massive for me. That was like, hold on. You mean to tell me that like my headspace is getting this clear and I'm feeling this like connected to myself again, and I don't have any like outside influence or substance like changing the way that my thought process is working, and like this is how I actually, like me as a person, this is how I deal with things. Sick. I kind of like this. Like I want to get better at this. I want this to continue to be how I deal with conflict and resolution and moving on from really hard things in my life. I don't want my life to feel like it's about to like freaking spiral every time something emotional or devastating happens to me. Like I want to deal with it in a really healthy and mature way. And like, it was just really eye-opening for me. And that moment for me, that was really towards the end of Whole30. And when that happened, I was like, wait, if I wasn't already sure that I wanted to keep not drinking, I'm really sure now. Another thing happened for me when it came to not drinking. I had a major change in perspective around drinking and being in my 20s and spending my time wisely, I had a really big kind of shift in perspective, change of lens, whatever we want to call it. And you know how everyone, at least I hear all the time, like, we're only this young once. Like, you only get to be in your 20s once. Like, you only are this young with this little responsibility once in your life. And while I completely and fully agree with that, and that's why I'm so thankful that I did have the college experience that I had, and that my 20s so far have been spent the way that they have. I've traveled a lot. I've been to a lot of events. I have an incredible group of friends. I've done it. I've done so many things, and I'm only getting started, and I know that. But one day I was walking Louis, and it was like I had like a freaking epiphany about this whole "you're only this young once" mentality. And a lot of people use that mentality when it comes to, well, gosh, they're really chilling out a lot. Like, they're becoming a grandma. Like, they're staying home all the time. Like, they don't like to party anymore. You're only this young once. You're never going to be, 26 again and like carefree and have no kids and no husband, and like they're becoming a grandma and they don't want to do anything that I want to do anymore. That's usually when that narrative is used. And I've used it before. I've totally used it before. I'm like, wow, they are really, really wasting away their 20s, da 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 da. And I had this epiphany, and I was like, wait, I have spent the last 8 years of my life, all of my 20s, I have spent partying and doing this super fun, crazy lifestyle where I just like say yes to everything and just go and have a good time and make all of these friends and have friends in different friend groups and da 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 da. But you're right. I am only this young once. I am only in my 20s with this little responsibility and no kids and no husband and no, mortgage. Like, I am only this young once. So I spent the last 8 years doing it that way. Why not experience what it's like to be this young with this little responsibility a different way? Why not experience what it's like to take really good care of yourself and really focus on yourself and really maximize my time and well-being while I don't have all of this really heavy responsibility in my life? I wonder what that would be like, because I've already been doing this one thing for 8 years. I've been doing it and it's been really, really fun, but like, do I need another 8 years of it? Or could I change my thought process and take these next, I'm about to be 27, so I will have kids sometimes in my 30s, probably in my early to mid 30s. So I've probably got another 5, 6, 8 years left before I've got kids. So I've spent 8 years partying and doing it this way. Why not experience the next 8 doing it a different way, doing it really focused on me and like really focused on my well-being and my health and my wellness? And what could my life look like then? Do I need 16 years of like the same party girl lifestyle, or is there room to shift and do things differently and really take advantage of this young, vibrant body that I have and this young mindset that I have and this lack of heavy responsibility in my life? Like, what if I did it that way? And when I was walking Louis and had this epiphany, I was like, oh, duh. No, I can't keep up this lifestyle that I have been doing. I can't keep it up for another 6 to 8 years. I just can't do it. My body will like literally deteriorate. So I just think that change in perspective really opened up my eyes to like, just because you're not partying anymore and just because you're not doing the party girl lifestyle and drinking heavily and whatever else it may be for you, doesn't mean that your 20s are dead. Doesn't mean that like you're not doing anything fun anymore. It just means that your priorities may change. The things that you like to do for fun might change. The way that you spend your time might change. The people that you hang out with might change. But that doesn't mean that your life is any less fun. It doesn't mean that you're wasting any of your time. You're just using your time in a different way. And I think that that's great. And I think that it's really exciting that I'm going to get to have both experiences. That young and carefree and party and got it out of my system experience. And then now I'm so excited to see what the flip side of the coin is for this next, 6, 8 years, whatever it may be, and see what life can cultivate in that time. It's actually a really exciting change of perspective for me. And I think that it makes this whole thing a lot easier, this whole lifestyle change a lot easier. Reason number 3 for me to quit drinking was, my hangovers were debilitating. I mean, it was getting to the point, and I would say that my hangovers really only started getting like this probably within the last 8, 12 months, probably. It hasn't always been like this. I mean, I've gotten hungover the majority of my 20s when I've been drinking, but not like this. Y'all, there would be nights where I was like really not even drinking that much. It would be like a few seltzers. And I would wake up the next morning, my eyes like swollen shut, my head like jackhammer, right? Absolute jackhammer. Thank God I never had really bad nausea, but the headaches that I would get and just like the overall fatigue. I mean, there would be days where I would spend my entire Saturday or my entire Sunday laying on my couch, just like trying to sleep off the way that I felt. I just wanted it gone. And they were only getting worse. And it was like one of those things where I was like, oh my God, why am I doing this to myself? Why am is the 3 or 4 hours the night before where I was drunk and things started to get a little hazy when it came to even remembering what I did the night before. Was that worth the 8 to 12 hours the next day where I felt like I was physically dying? I mean, it was getting really, really bad. And so for me, that was just like one of those like, I just don't want my entire weekend to be consumed with this cycle of like, go out, drink, wake up, feel like shit, waste your whole day, go out, drink, wake up, feel like shit, waste your whole day. Oh my God, I wake up on Monday, time to go to work again. It was a cycle that I was just like exhausted. I was so exhausted, and I felt like I was getting no like break from life because like my weekend wasn't actually relaxing. It was like I was fighting for my life on the weekends, and then I would go back to work. And if y'all have been watching any of my videos, you know by now that like I was really unhappy at work. So then I would wake up on Monday morning and spend my whole week working this job that I just like did not enjoy, just to start the cycle back over on the weekend. I mean, it was just a cycle that I was just like, ugh. I was exhausted. I was exhausted of it. And I didn't want to do it anymore. And once I experienced in Whole30 that I could go out and continue to have a good time and not feel like that, that was like, again, another biggie for me. And Whole30 again pointed this out to me. Taking those 30 days not drinking like really highlighted a lot of things for me. And you know, this year I am going to be starting a new career. I have this hobby that I'm spending a lot of my free time doing. And I need to budget. I need to budget really, really hard this year. I am hoping to move this year. There are just a lot of things that I need to focus on financially. And I drank heavily, which means that I spent a lot of money on alcohol. So when I was doing Whole30 and I would go out for a night with my friends and realize that there were a lot of nights that I would go out and not spend a single dime because bars would give me water for free. Or if I spent any money, there were a lot of times it was like $5 or $6 because I would buy soda water just so I could have like soda water with a lime and like feel like I was part of the social scene or whatever. That right there saves me so much money. And then even bigger than that, going out to dinner and not drinking alcohol, crazy. Every single time I went out, and I was just paying for myself, every single time that I went out, I mean, I was spending $60, $70 a dinner, $80 a dinner, $90 a dinner, depending how heavily I was drinking. And it's because I would have 4, 5, 6 drinks that are $10, $12 a pop, and then all of a sudden, and I'd have my entree as well, and then all of a sudden I'd look at the bill and I'd be like, oh my God, like I'm gonna spend a cool $200 tonight if we continue to go out after this. And then the first time that I went out to dinner and got my bill with no alcohol on it, and I was like, I spent $30 tonight. That's all I spent. $30? $30 is all I spent. I haven't spent over $40 on a dinner since I stopped drinking. Like a night out with my friends, I have a whole night out. So we'll go to dinner, we might go to drinks before, we might go to dinner, and then we might go to a bar after and continue out to a late night spot, right? So like 7, 8 hours of like fun with my friends. I have not spent, I would say, over $45, $50 a night on a full night out because all I'm doing is eating my entree and then maybe getting like a soda water that some places charge for. And then if we decide to do like late night snack or something like that, I might get something. But it's wild because there were nights before where I was spending $150, $200 a night just like drinking excessively. And now I'm spending $30, $40, $50 a night and having a whole night out. It's really, really nice, and honestly, a great way for me to save money and cut costs. So I love that because like I said, this year is all about focus, and that is focus on me mentally, me physically, me financially. It's focus, all about focus this year. Okay, and then the last reason for not drinking for me, So when I stopped drinking and, continued to go out and do my social activities, whether it be going to a bar to get drinks or doing something during the day on the Beltline or a festival or going to dinner or whatever it may be, whatever the social situation was, I realized that alcohol for me gave me a lot of confidence. It made me feel like I had a place in the room. And I think that was also a big reason why I drank so heavily, was because I always wanted something in my hand because it made me feel less awkward socially. Like I was just always like, if I didn't have someone to talk to or if I like felt uncomfortable in a conversation, like I would drink. I always had a drink in my hand, like always. And then I'd get really, really drunk. So not drinking made me realize, one, I had never thought about the fact that alcohol gave me so much confidence and made me feel so like normal in social settings. But there were also a few things like, for example, I've noticed that dancing, when I'm sober, dancing out and about with my friends, I feel self-conscious, which is crazy because I have no reason to feel self-conscious. I'm a beautiful girl. I have a beautiful body. I can dance, and for some reason I still feel self-conscious. That's something that I really need to work on, feeling confident in my own skin, on my own, walking into a room and putting my shoulders back and holding my head high and just feeling confident to do my thing. I need to work on that. And alcohol masks the fact that I need to work on that. I didn't really realize that I felt like that until I stopped drinking, and then I was like, I think I might have a little bit of self-confidence issues in that department. Okay, I need to work on that. I've noticed that drinking makes, for lack of a better word, networking. When you're out, like mingling with people and stuff like that, right? Like talking to new people, sparking up conversations, just like, alcohol makes that really, really easy because you're all just like, hey, what's up? What you doing? Want to come over here? Meet my friend. Come here. Do this. And when you're sober, it's like, there have been times where I'll be standing there and then I'll look around and I'm like, all of my friends have gone off because they're like bouncing around, mingling, doing. And then I'm like, ooh, I feel a little self-conscious. I'm not talking to anyone right now. I probably need to go up and mingle and do and insert myself into a conversation, but I'm not drinking, so I don't have that liquid courage to just go like, insert myself, do my thing, which is what I would normally do with alcohol in my system. I need to work on that. I need to work on going up and feeling confident enough to just go up and be like, hey guys, what you doing? Or hey, my name's Maddie, what's your name? Or hey, I really, really like your shoes. What's your name? My name's Maddie. Like, I need to work on that because the ability to do that in a super social setting, like at a bar or whatever, it seeps into all aspects of my life. Like I need to be more confident networking for my career. I need to be more confident networking just on a personal level, getting out and meeting people and expanding my circle and making new friends, all of those things. I need to learn to do that. And I don't want alcohol to be the reason that I do that. I want to be good at doing that, me on my own. All of those things have to do with building self-confidence, and alcohol was giving me that self-confidence, but this year I want to build that self-confidence. I don't want my self-confidence to come from alcohol. I want my self-confidence to come from me. I want to walk into a room and I want to be like, yep, I feel good. Let's go. Let's mingle. Let's dance. Like, we're going to have a good night. And I don't need alcohol to do it. Like, I want my self-confidence to just like come up from within me and not come from something outside of me. Does that make sense? Overall, not drinking alcohol is really just about focus for me this year. I just want to focus on me so heavily. I want to give myself the room to do the work. I want to give myself the room to heal. I just want this year to be all about becoming the best version of myself. And I know that I'm not the best version of myself when I drink. So let's cut it out for a year. Let's focus hardcore on me and my life and getting to the next stage, and let's see what happens. That's my mindset. I haven't missed out on social events. I haven't been excluded from things. There might be nights where I go home earlier than the rest of the group, but then there are also nights like last night where I stayed out till 2 a.m. with everyone and it was a great time and I had fun. So like there's both ends of the spectrum, right? My social life has not taken a hit because I'm not drinking. It's just maybe gonna change a little bit. And guys, I am in full support of everyone drinking. I am not preaching at anyone not to drink at all. That is not what I'm saying. I want no part of that narrative right now. This is totally a personal experience for me. It is just a behavioral change. It is a habitual change for me. And I wanted to explain why I was doing it. And so maybe some of y'all might feel the same way and be like, or maybe y'all have been thinking like, oh God, I really would like to take a break from alcohol and see what would happen. Okay. I'm doing it too. Let's do it together. Let's experience it together. Even if no one else in your life and no one else in your circle is like ready to make that change, like I'm making that change. Let's do it together. Let's create that community and try that change out together and just see what happens. That's the whole point. I am not sober. I am not working a program. This is just a habitual behavioral change that I am making in 2023. Let's call it a personal social experiment for myself. I just want to see what life can do and what the universe can bring to me when I cut out something that I know is 100% bad for me. It's 1 year. 365 days. How often do we say, oh my gosh, how is it already November? Or wow, summer really flew by. Or so much can happen in a year, right? We've heard all of those sayings a million times, and it's because so much can happen in a year. A year does fly by. So like, let's make a change this year. Let's try something new this year. Let's break the status quo this year and let's see what this year can bring for us. Thank you guys so much again for joining me. As always, I am so happy you have chosen to come along with me on this journey through health, wellness, and personal development. As I mentioned earlier, I am starting a podcast, Do the Work with Madeline Hewitt. It will be anywhere that you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever it may be. I will link more information in the description below, and I hope that you join me on my show there. Join me here on YouTube. There will be exclusive content between the two, and of course, follow me on socials. As always, if you found this video helpful or informative or inspiring or whatever it may be to you, please go ahead and give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. I really hope to see you back next week as we continue on this journey through health, wellness, and personal development.